Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we have another Start Collecting Age of Sigmar 3rd Edition video for you, and today we're going to be looking at the Start Collecting Kharadron's Overlord box set for, you guessed it, the Kharadron Overlords faction in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. For starters, let's start by looking at exactly what is in this particular box set. And so we start off with the Endron Master. This is a hero that's got a nice little hammer. He potentially does 3 mortal wounds with that hammer when he gets hit rolls of 6s, so he can be a little bit of a nice little combat hitter if he gets in there and rolls well. But his main thing is that he can actually heal some of the airships. He has the ability to heal them, and he also has a command ability that doubles with some of the other units around him that can make them heal the airships that little bit better as well. So he's a nice little piece to have in your Kharadron's Overlords force. Next up in this box set, you can see the foot troops we have here, and they are Grundstock Thunderers. Grundstock Thunderers are an amazingly fun unit to build and paint. They have a wide variety of different weapons, though there are some key rules to follow that many Kharadron Overlords players will tell you when building up this unit. And so the rule here is generally you want to build up all the special weapons, as many as you possibly can, probably only sticking with 1 mortar. It's not the greatest weapon in the kit, but you want at least one of everything in there if the unit is going to be on the ground. So if this unit's not going to be flying around in your airships, you want it on the ground, it's best to build up all the different special weapons. However, if it's going to be in an airship flying around the battlefield, you're going to want as many rifles in that airship as possible. The rifles do more when they're shooting out of the airship. So it's the general rule of thumb to follow when building up this unit. Figure out what you're going to do with it, how you're going to play with it, and then build them up. The other unit we get in this is we get a unit of 3 Endron Riggers or Skywardens. Endron Riggers are the unit I mentioned that the Endron Master can work alongside to help heal up your airships that little bit better. But for this particular box set, we've got an airship with slightly smaller wounds. So I probably would go actually with the Skywardens to start off with, and we'll see, well, we'll talk about this later when we look at our army list at the end of the video, but the Skywardens have a 2-inch range. This, for me, I think makes them really interesting now compared to the Endron Riggers, because when you start increasing the size and going to 6-man units, all of a sudden the Skywardens can fight in 2 ranks where the Endron Riggers can't. Lastly, we do have that airship I was talking about earlier, the Grundstock Gunhauler. This essentially is just a flying cannon, which is pretty cool. It can fly around, deliver some nice firepower around the battlefield, do a little bit of combat damage as well if it does get stuck in there, but all in all, it's mainly literally a cannon that can fly, so you can get, a little bit of shooting damage around the table. There are some particular ways you can make this into a flying transport with some of the great engine works, which are effectively their sort of mount traits for their airships that Kharadron Overlords have. And so you can do a little bit with that to give it a little bit of transport as well, to make it a really useful and versatile piece in your force. And so I just want to take a quick aside to talk a little bit about Endless Spells and Kharadron Overlords. Now, Kharadron Overlords don't have any wizards and they don't have any priests, so they don't get access to Endless Spells and invocations like most armies do, I guess in a more traditional sense. However, it is worth considering and having a look in as you get a bigger army to look at Endless Spells, because you have an artifact that is really popular among Kharadron Overlords players and one of the most, I guess, fun artifacts in the game called Spell in a Bottle. So this is literally what you might think it is. It is shoving an endless spell inside a bottle that one of your Aether Chemists can carry around as an artifact, and it'll effectively allow you to throw out an endless spell. Really cool. It's worth remembering though that you cannot control this particular endless spell, so maybe you're wanting to go for endless spells that have a little bit less ill effects, so things like the Warp Lightning Vortex from Skaven, the Soul Snare Shackles, the Aether Void Pendulum that moves in a particular motion, etc. These sort of endless spells are the ones you want to consider. You don't want to have something like a Purple Sun where your opponent can quite easily play its wild nature back at you, but it's a really fun little tool to have in a Kharadron's Overlords army. But where do we go to next? If we're starting to look at other units to bring into our Kharadron Overlords force, where do we go to next? What units do we bring in and how can we bring them in? So for starters, I want to talk about Archanaut Company. Archanaut Company are the main battle line unit for Kharadron Overlords. They're the only unit that is pure battle line in your entire army. Generally, when you're starting to look to get up to 2,000 points, I would recommend at least always having your 3 units of 10 of these in your shelves ready to play at all times. What this does when you start going up to 2,000 points is having 3 of these allows you to play any list you could possibly want outside of that, because there are certain ways you can get other different battle line units, and we'll talk about that in a second, but these are your pure battle line. This means that every list is open and viable to you if you have 3 units of Archnaut Company ready to go. Next up, the Sky Vessels. Now, we saw the Grundstock Gunhauler pictured in the original video slide that we had, but the one I've got pictured here is the Archnaut Frigate, which is actually the mid-sized model, and you've got an even bigger one yet called the Archnaut Ironclad that weighs in at a whopping points cost. All of them are really great, and as you might expect, their transport capacity gets better, their guns get better, and they just can do a lot more the bigger they get. For me, Sky Vessels are completely what Kharadron Overlords are all about. If you're wanting to play the steampunk, or I guess aetherpunk style dwarves, it's definitely the way you're wanting to play, is with airships. I mean, this is why you're playing the army, I think. If you've been attracted to this, 9 times out of 10, it's the airships that do the attracting too, surely. Sky Vessels can give you a lot, and there's particular ways to make some of the medium-sized ones the frigates battle line as well, with some of the different sub-factions available to Kharadron Overlords, so that's nice as well. But for me, looking at grabbing a couple of these on Ironclad at 2,000 points is almost necessary. There's definitely a lot to get into and a lot to play about with these Sky Vessels and how you can equip them, how you can put units inside them, what units go inside them, etc. Next up, we have the Kharadron Overlords characters. We've got the Engine Master in the box set, but there's a ton of different characters available to us in Kharadron Overlords, from the Aether Chemist that can help buff up our shooting units, to the Admiral, who's sort of our main frontline leader, to the Engine Master in Dirigible suit you see pictured there. All the characters give us a different variety of options and are generally great buff pieces for your army, and I really do think in the new edition of Age of Sigmar, all of them have a place with all their different and unique command abilities. But looking into what characters can bring into our force, and we were talking a little bit about it, how we can have alternate battle line options, it's really worth checking out some of the alternate battle line options that Kharadron Overlords have. There's a bunch of different ways you can get them, particularly either playing in a sub-faction or having a particular model as your general. These are the different ways that other unit options open as battle line. You can run all airship armies almost, just needing a character, and then you can run all airships if you're going in particular sub-factions. But you can also make some of your balloon boys, the engine riggers, and the Sky Wardens as battle line. You can get Grundstock Thunderers as battle line. Gun haulers can be battle line. It's a really great versatile army that, depending on how you pick to build your force, you can have these alternate battle line options that require you to take less Archnaut Company. Though, as mentioned originally, 3 units of 10 Archnaut Company will allow you still to run any list you possibly want outside of them. So what we're going to do next is let's go have a look at a little sample army list we put together using the Start Collecting box as the basis for our force. Alright, so let's look at the little sample army list we put together for the Kharadron Overlords. For starters, we're going to be playing in a sub-faction. I don't think that's used an awful lot, but I think with this Start Collecting box it actually builds up a really fun and interesting army we can play around with. So we're going to be playing in the sub-faction Barak Zon. For starters, our Engine Master, he's going to be our general, and he's going to have the command trait Bearer of the Iron Star, and he's going to have the artifact, the Aether Speed Hammer. Both of these are things we have to take due to being Barak Zon. First of all, Bearer of the Iron Star is effectively, I guess, a second chance life item. On a 2+, when he's slain, he's not slayed and instead gains D3 wounds back, really nice. And the Aether Speed Hammer gives him an extra 2 attacks, which is really nice on his nice big hammer. For battle line, we've got a unit of 10 Archnaut Company. Generally, you want to have each of your special weapons in here. There's no reason not to. They're going to be a mainline sort of unit holding objectives for us that can be really great at doing so. For other units, we've got 5 Grundstock Thunderers, and this unit's going to be fighting as a ground unit for us. So I'm probably going to recommend giving them all the different special weapon options, making sure you got that sergeant, that banner in there, and of course, don't forget your little drill build buddy as well. 6 Sky Wardens are what we're going to take, and this is making great use of Barak Zon's ability, where we get +1 to wound if we charge with Barak Zon units, but we also get +1 to hit if the unit is a Sky Warden's unit. This is going to save us a ton of command points and allow us to use things to make their armor saves a little bit better and stuff like that as well. We're then going to have our Grundstock Gunhauler, and he's going to have the Great Engine Work Coalbeard's Collapsible Compartment. This I alluded to at the start of the video, and it is the great engine work that allows us to have a transport capacity of 5, and so we're going to stick our Engine Master in here, allowing us to keep that Grundstock Gunhauler healed up, but also allowing us to get that Engine Master into combat. With those attacks out of his big hammer there, he could potentially do quite a bit of damage in combat, and he's going to take out small units. His ability to give himself either +1 to hit or +1 to save is going to be great. And so I really do think he's going to be a fantastic unit to have in our force that we can use to sort of just wipe out and clear up what our shooting hasn't been able to deal with. Next, we're going to have Triumphs, and the first one we're going to pick is we're going to pick Inspired. This gives us rerolls to wound on a particular unit. Seeing as we're coming in about 25 points shy, this is actually a good chance we're going to get the Triumphs. Now, in Broken Realms Bellicor, we actually got access to the Guild Triumphs, where we get to pick one of the Guild Triumphs in addition to any other Triumphs that we can choose from. So we potentially might want to be looking at our Guild Triumph here instead of Inspired. So we are going to have to be taking one or the other. So if you're not wanting to go with Inspired, perhaps maybe take a look at the Guild Triumph that we get for having our Engine Master. This one effectively allows when a gunship goes down with the Engine Master in it, he can use this and he can effectively explode stuff. A really nice sort of thing he can do just to give the ship the one last sort of hoorah. And don't forget, if he dies in that as well, he potentially can come back alive with the Bearer of the Iron Star as well. So some really cool things we can do with the Kharadron Overlords thanks to those new Triumphs they got in the Guild Triumphs. Lastly, we've got our Grand Strategy, Predator's Domain. This means we have to control more terrain pieces at the end of the game than our opponent does. So with that, we've got access to a fast-moving unit like the Sky Wardens. We've got the Gun Hauler that can move around the battlefield. And the Archanaut Company and the Thunderers just moving around, plotting around our backfield. We can hopefully control more of the terrain pieces at the end of the battlefield than our opponents, getting us that extra triumph. Well, that's the army list we've put together, though. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your ideas on how you put together your start collecting Kharadron Overlords and all your different sort of ideas on it. And if you have built it up or building Kharadron Overlords, let us know what you're doing, how you're doing it, and just love to hear from you all about Kharadron Overlords and getting them into Age of Sigmar 3rd Edition. Well, thank you all for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Also, while you're at it, why not come chat more with us on Discord? We've got a link in the description of the video below to our Discord server. You can come chat with me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel in various different ways. First of all, to our Patreon members, Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, MJ, and Dyna226. Thank you to, as well, our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Fire Titan, Steve T, The Real Zeop, Chris Wallace, Turai12, Vinny, and Loch Lorick. And a special thanks to our artist who does all the channel art for us, Lady Witchfox Art, thank you very much. And to our Discord moderator, Xmorphic, you do a fantastic job on Discord for us as well. Thank you all, everyone, for watching. If you'd like to help support on Patreon or YouTube member or help support the channel in another way, you can do so by following one of the links in the description of the video to Patreon or YouTube members, or go buy some Sinful Gaming merch from our Teespring store, also linked in the video's description. That's it for today, everyone. Thank you again. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.